Back with us on the SportsMax zone. Composure, George. Here we go. 4 years on, and the decision by then San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick to take a knee during the playing of the U.S. national anthem is finally making sense. Well, at least that's according to those coaches and sporting officials who could not see at the time what the African-American man was trying to communicate about race relations in the land of the free. Let's rewind to what Kaepernick said in 2016 about the reason for opting not to stand at attention during the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner. Pay attention. The message is in the words. He said, "I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and the people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder." Well, the Seattle Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll has said in the last 24 hours that, quote, "We owe a tremendous amount to Kaepernick," end quote. He said, "He took a stand on something, figuratively took a knee, but he stood up for something he believed in, and what an extraordinary moment it was that he was willing to take. But what happened from the process is it elevated awareness from people that just took everything away from what the statement was all about, and it just got tugged and pulled and ripped apart. So I think it was a big sacrifice in the sense that a young man makes, but those are the courageous moments that some guys take, and we owe a tremendous amount to him, for sure." Well, New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees has been forced to apologize for comments he made on Tuesday, criticizing those athletes who kneel during the playing of the U.S. national anthem. This is what got Drew Brees into trouble with sports stars in the United States and even some of his own Saints teammates.
I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country. Let me just tell you what I see or what I feel when the national anthem is played and when I look at the flag of the United States. I envision my two grandfathers who fought for this country during World War II, one in the Army and one in the Marine Corps, both risking their lives to protect our country and to try to make our country and this world a better place. So every time I stand with my hand over my heart, looking at that flag and singing the national anthem, that's what I think about. And in many cases, it brings me to tears, thinking about all that has been sacrificed, not just those in the military, but for that matter, those throughout the civil rights movements of the 60s.
Well, those comments were met by a wall of criticism. LeBron James was quick out the blocks. He said, "Wow, man, is it still surprising at this point? Sure isn't. You literally still don't understand why Cap was kneeling on one knee? Has absolute nothing to do with the disrespect of and our soldiers, men and women who keep our land free. My father-in-law was one of those," LeBron said, "who fought as well for this country. I asked him questions about it and thank him all the time for his commitment. He never found a Cap peaceful protest offensive because he and I both know what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. God bless you." Tyrann Mathieu, the real issue is that some don't have the heart to understand or submit. Julius Peppers, if you're still talking about players, and these are all pro athletes, disrespecting the flag by kneeling during the national anthem, clearly you're not ready for these conversations, Drew Brees. Call a timeout and come back later. Daniel Cormier, for a man that doesn't make many mistakes, this is a big one. So disappointing. Douglas Baldwin Jr., Drew Brees, the reason my children have to live in a world that won't empathize with their pain is because people like you are raising your children to perpetuate the cycle. Drew, you are the problem. Jamal Adams, damn it, Drew. That's one of his teammates, I believe, from the Saints. Well, after thinking about his words, Drew Brees, penitent and apologetic now. This is what he has said. "I would like to apologize to my friends, teammates, the city of New Orleans, the black community, NFL community, and anyone I hurt with my comments yesterday. In speaking with some of you, it breaks my heart to know the pain I have caused. I stand with the black community in the fight against systemic racial injustice and police brutality and support the creation of real policy change that will make a difference. I condemn the years of oppression that have taken place throughout our black communities and still exist today. I acknowledge that we as Americans, including myself, have not done enough to fight for that equality or to truly understand the struggles and the plight of the black community. I recognize that I am part of the solution and can be a leader for the black community in this movement. So, Lance, I don't know what assailed Drew Brees in that interview, but he said something that was very insensitive, and you've heard me from yesterday say tone deaf, because it's as if he's not hearing what's happening outside in the wider world. And to say this at any time would have been problematic, Lance, but to say it now is even more so, and he was correctly pilloried for saying something stupid and insensitive.
Yeah, and it leads me to suggest, George, that I'm not even sure at the moment how seriously to take this apology, because he appeared, when he was making the statement, to be very calculated and very convicted in what he was saying. So I do have a feeling that listening to his words in his so-called apology, it is a move that he has made, to my mind, to deflect the very caustic criticism that has come his way, and not necessarily to be genuinely and fully appreciative of how damaging and how horrible his position was on this matter, as you said, tone deaf. So I'm not too sure what to take out of this apology.
You know, there's something that happened to me once where I asked a question. It was of a prime minister way back when. And my words were interpreted on a talk show the next day by an eminent UWI professor who said that I was intending this and intending that by my simple question. I took offense because I'm saying, but that's not what I intended, and everything. It was a huge thing. And I say that to say, I'm very careful not to interpret from people's words what they really mean to say beyond what it is obvious that they are saying.
Yes.
However, in this case, I have to forget about that and look in context at what Drew Brees said, because you have said something very, very important. You've said the sincerity and clarity with which Drew Brees made the offending statement.
Yes.
This apology does not square. This apology does not exist naturally or organically in the mind of someone who said what Drew Brees said. And if you think I'm over-exaggerating or exaggerating, then I'm going to ask the producer to play back Drew Brees' clip. Play back that clip with Drew Brees. Listen to what the man said earlier this week.
I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country. Let me just tell you what I see or what I feel when the national anthem is played and when I look at the flag of the United States. I envision my two grandfathers who fought for this country during World War II, one in the Army and one in the Marine Corps, both risking their lives to protect our country and to try to make our country and this world a better place. So every time I stand with my hand over my heart, looking at that flag and singing the national anthem, that's what I think about. And in many cases, it brings me to tears, thinking about all that has been sacrificed, not just those in the military, but for that matter, those throughout the civil rights movements of the 60s.
So here's the thing now. Drew Brees, in making his point, is not only saying that he is convicted about what the flag represents to him. He's grounding that belief and conviction in the fact that those who made it possible for him to exist here as a human, his grandparents, what they fought for. He's saying that they fought for the flag, and they fought for me to respect the flag under whatever circumstance and to harbor no understanding whatsoever of anybody who does anything to disrespect the flag, regardless of how convicted that individual may feel about that action, which I interpret to be disrespecting the flag. He made that clear. There was no equivocation at all about what Drew Brees was saying about his conviction where the flag is concerned. From that perspective, this apology, Mr. Producer, help me please, give me that graphic again. This apology that he's putting out, clearly this apology could not, I believe, have come from the same mind. This has all the imprints of not even a public relations specialist, a publicist. This has the imprint of a lawyer on this. Someone who's protecting Drew Brees' image rights. Someone who's going to ensure that Drew Brees can go back to training camp with the New Orleans Saints and shake hands or bump fists with his black teammates on the New Orleans Saints. This is ensuring that when he comes up against the black players across the line of scrimmage from him on the NFL field, that there won't be an extra venom to sack Drew Brees and hurt Drew Brees on the field because of the insensitive nature of what he said. This was calculated to the T to cover all the bases. Look at it, take it line by line. So in the second line, he mentions the black community. Yeah? Then he goes on to say, it breaks my heart to know the pain I have caused. That's rubbish. He goes on again, he says, I stand with the black community. Yeah, so black community 2 times already in the speech, in the first paragraph. He goes down, I condemn the years of oppression that have taken place throughout our black communities once again. Mark it the 3rd time that black community is being used. I acknowledge we as Americans, including myself, have not done enough. So you're acknowledging now that, oh, I'm a part of the problem to fight for that equality or truly understand the right, the struggles and plight of the black community once again. People, are you following me, church? That's 4 times the black community is being mentioned. Then he goes to the last sentence. I recognize that I am part of the solution and can be a leader for the black community. Lance, I rest my case. This is calculated down to the last preposition, down to the last punctuation mark by a lawyer, Lance, who's been earning very well to get Drew Brees out of trouble because his mouth said what his heart and brain believed to be true. And he has moved now to, as you said, it's a matter of self-preservation and to preserve this. Yes, and to ensure that he can coexist in the space of the NFL when the season resumes later this year. This is not an apology of sincerity I'm submitting to you.
No, I would agree with you 100%, and it's good that we replayed what he said so that people can contextualize the narrative that we're proposing here, because when you see the apology and then hear what he said, and then go back to hear what he said again and then see the apology, it does speak clearly to a logical conclusion that he genuinely said what he said initially, and he is repairing the damage here, or not him, but someone wrote or fashioned a response that comes out as an apology to save face. Because one of the things that has happened in this George Floyd story, George, is that for me, I am seeing here where, although there's a lot of anger, undisputed anger coming from all angles, not only from the black community, but more from the white community than we had seen previous to this. I'm also seeing a hint of some of the white folk looking on to what has happened to George Floyd and recognizing that they cannot be combative in a moment like this. And they have to take a step back and start to reason the thing logically, which, to be quite honest, I can't say that I had been seeing a lot of this prior to now. So this George Floyd story has an imprint of making some serious strides into this horrible racism issue. And I'm getting the feeling that this is going to have a far more colossal impact on the issue of racism than any similar issue that we've seen in the last decade.
Lance, I agree with you 100%. I'll say as we continue, I'll say this. I've been lucky enough to, I say lucky for a particular reason. I've been lucky enough to travel widely in the US. I've done almost 20 states already for various things. And everywhere I go, I've never been in any part of the USA where I'm out in public. I feel good when I'm at the hotel or I'm at the home. I feel, or I'm at where I'm doing some business or whatever. I feel good there.
Yes.
When I'm out in the open lands, I can't shake the feeling that anything can happen at any time. Not because I'm a criminal, because I'm not, but because I exist in the castle of this skin, because I'm a black man. And I remember 2 years ago, I was in Times Square on Christmas Day. And I'd gone to the World Trade Center. It was very cold that day. It was freezing cold.
Well,
yeah,
Christmas, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, well, yeah. And well, I say that because last Christmas in New York wasn't
Was
that
not
cold.
cold, yeah.
And I was with my brethren who works in our own Times Square area. So it was so cold. He's Jamaican as well. He had on a scarf. So what we are wearing now as face masks before because of COVID, he was like that, and he had on his woolly hat. So I had on gloves, a huge jacket, a woolly hat right down here, and a face mask right up there. So only my eyes were visible. So we were walking to this Mexican place to buy to get a sandwich. And Lance, we're walking. It was about 2 blocks. Every inch of the way, there were 2 white policemen following us. I kid you not. I know how to look for that.
Yeah.
I grew up being told and taught how to do that.
Yes.
So I was walking, so I said to him, yo, them 2 white men there, policemen there follow, you know. He said, yeah? So we walked fast, they walked fast. We walked slow, they walked slow. We stopped at a shop, we looked in through the window, they stopped further up, and they did not stop until we went into the restaurant 2 blocks away. And I'm saying, so why are you following us? You know why? We're 2 young black men. Our faces are covered. Their faces weren't covered, of course. They were in short sleeve shirts. It's their weather, you know.
Yes.
Fine.
Comfortable.
I am dying. Yeah, I am dying. And we are covered up, and we're being followed because we're simply 2 young black men who look to be up to no good, and our faces are covered up. They can't see us clearly, and they're saying that maybe it is highly likely that of all of the hundreds of thousands of people in Times Square, not there, maybe millions, because you know that Times Square at Christmas is very popular.
Yes.
These 2 black men look like they could be up to no good. Let us follow them. That's the feeling I get when I'm out in the open in the great United States of America. And make no mistake, it is a great country with great people, but there's so much wrong with it, as evidenced by what we're talking about now.
Yeah, and I think the black movement and the feeling for decades, because this didn't start yesterday or the day before, that something has to be done about what has been happening in the United States. Not only the United States, racism is happening all over the world. Racism right here in the Caribbean. Let's not forget
For
that,
sure.
because that's an issue as well that I think we have to confront and not just sweep it under the carpet and use issues like this sometimes to deflect the attention there when sometimes in our own region we have similar situations to face. But this issue for the past week, George, week and a half, has been so global, and we have seen sporting bodies, this is a sports show, like the IOC and FIFA taking positions that they would not normally take, tells me that this is a special moment in history for us, and we've got to ensure that we get the right result out of it.
Perhaps after all, George Floyd will be a martyr. We take a break. When we come back, Ultimate ODI 11, the Bowlers Edition.